Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to my tutorial for the Agile Planning Documents Practice assignment. And so the two documents that we're doing the product vision statement and we're doing the product backlog. Okay, so uh, the problem that I'm going to be working on in the tutorial is the student attendance system. So what's the background information for that? Well, let me find it. Okay, so Um, there's a case description for the student attendance system. Okay, and that's one of the pieces that I've been showing in the course. And so, this is this is the stand-in for all the information that we would have elicited from the stakeholders who we've talked to so far, right? So we're not going to expect anybody to hand us a document like this. Uh, our work in working with the parties at hand is going to give us access to this kind of information. Okay, so that's the first document that pretty well talks about the knowledge that we have about the student attendance system. And then the other thing that I've had hanging around for this is a use case diagram. Okay, and you remember that the use cases, the way that I saw it, were the ones that were primarily for the student were log attendance and generate student attendance report, and the ones for the instructor were create semester, create, this says class, but I think I really meant course, uh, enter class meeting schedule, enter class roster, enter class meeting password, uh, enter class attendance report, uh, generate semester attendance report, and the two administrative use cases were authorize user and login. Okay, so I drew on this document as well, not word for word, but this is something that I had hanging around, which was uh, sort of a vision that I had for the design. Okay, so now I'm going to take that, and the first thing I'm going to create is the product vision statement. And how do I know what that should look like? Well, I look in the Agile Project Management for Dummies book, and I see that there is a format for this document. What I'm doing is I'm finding the spot in the book. Okay, so and here I'm dragging the wrong thing on. Let me drag the right thing on. Okay, so this is the format that we want to use. We want to say for, and then we want to describe the customer, who, and we want to describe them in terms of their needs. The, our product name is our product category description that uh, an expression of the benefit or the reason to buy associated with our product, unlike competitors to building and using our product, our products, and then we have the differentiation or the value proposition, right? And the example that they give us in the book has to do with a banking application. Okay, and there's one additional part that they use in the book that says which supports our strategy to, I would say, our strategy of, uh, and then you try to describe how the product is consistent with the strategy of the organization that you're building it for. Now, this is the thing that the authors of the book have kind of added on, and it's certainly not bad. If you would like to use it, please do. In my example, I didn't. Okay? So, my example, what does it look like? Well, let's take a look at that. So, I need to get to the right. I need to get to the right part of the schedule. So the product vision statement looks like this. Okay, so somewhere. Okay, so I say for Ken Tucker, who needs an easy means of tracking student attendance at his classes, the student attendance system is an automated student attendance tracking system that allows students to log their attendance directly from their lab computer. Unlike Ken's current paper-based attendance tracking process, our product produces reliable attendance reports with a minimum level of effort from both students and the instructor. Okay, and this was pretty easy to put it together for a couple reasons. One is it's a pretty small system that's doing things for kind of one stakeholder and his students. You could certainly consider them to be stakeholders as well, right? But the features are pretty well understood. The motivation's pretty well understood. It's just, there weren't a lot of alternatives about the way to fill in this form. Now, for a bigger system that's, less well understood, this could certainly be more challenging. All right. But when I sat down to do this, it was pretty straightforward, right? So that's the first of the two documents, right? So, between the example here and the example that's in the book, I think that they should both give you inspiration about what you're going to do for your assignment, okay? Now, the other thing that I have is a backlog, a product backlog. Okay, and let me see if I can find a way to make this a little bigger. I'm not seeing that, but I'll try that. Okay, yeah, that's working. So here I've just taken inspiration from what I had was a list of use cases, and I've kind of said to myself, well, user stories, use cases, they're approximately the same thing, right? User stories, if we peek ahead in the textbook, the For Dummies textbook, if we peek ahead to the next chapter, we're going to see that user stories look kind of like this. They're in chapter 10. So let's go to chapter 10. And what's the user story? Okay, so it has a title, and we say, as a type of user, I want to take this action so that I get this benefit. Okay. Uh, but if all we want is an inventory of these, and we haven't created them yet, and we may not have, okay, well, then we just want to come up with titles. Okay. And the titles, I've already talked in the class about the titles of use cases, it typically being a verb noun phrase, right? And that's not a bad format for the titles of use stories either. Um, Enter a deposit, make a withdrawal, right? Same kind of thing. So we're looking for the same kind of phrases that the phrase that would be a title for a use case and the phrase that would be a title for a user story would be very similar. The rest of the information in a use case is much more detailed than the information that we see in a user story. But the titles, I think, are comparable, and they do a good job of kind of describing what that kind of functionality is, what that feature is going to do. Okay, and there's more information to be collected about a user story, but for right now, we just need to list them. We don't need to create them in their entirety. Okay, so the user stories that I'm seeing here are record attendance at a class meeting, generate report of students' attendance, set up an instructor, set up a semester, set up a course section, set up a list of expected class meetings, set up a list of students registered for a course, generate a report of all students' attendance, authorize user, and log in. Now, I think there may be an idea or two that I've kind of talked about or thought about that I didn't get down. There was something about recording a password for class meetings. But then I was kind of thinking, is that a use case in its own right? I mean, I'm sorry, is that a user story in its own right? Or is that just a part of setting up a list of expected class meetings? Perhaps each of the meetings has a generated password. Okay, I'm not sure. All right, but this is, I think, a good list of user stories to get us started. And if we go back to the book, the For Dummies book, and let's go back to chapter 9, okay, and let's take a look at this backlog, right? So this is the other thing, okay? So they're expecting us, to be able to begin to list out the various user stories and things to put them on the backlog. And this is how we're going to manage our effort when we begin these agile sprints, right? So the information that they were tracking, they had order, but then they said order the requirements based on priority. And my thought was, well, let's just put the priority down instead of, let's be explicit what the column actually means. So I turned the order column into a priority column. The ID is just, the number of the entry. All the items I have are user stories. So I called the type story. I do think that before one starts the project, one probably wants to put some things on the backlog other than just user stories. Uh, we have these things, they call them overhead. Okay. Um, what I've classically called them is, well, uh, things that are not stories are tasks, right? So, what kind of task could you have? Well, typically, there's uh, there's some piece of work that has to be done that enables perhaps all the user stories or just a subset of them. And you can't, they're not user stories in their own right. Let's say that we were building some application with WordPress. Okay, is it a user story to install and test WordPress? Uh, no, but it's a task that has to be done. Um, I think that that's the kind of thing eventually that you're going to want to get on here um, when you're doing the work. But for right now, uh, I'm not including those kind of overhead kind of tests because I'm just trying to get a better feel for the functionality. Okay, so to get back to what I'm showing on mine, okay, I didn't include tasks that have to be done to enable the stories. I'm not trying to create just a project plan. I'm trying to use this as a kind of a statement of scope. Okay, what are the stories that we're currently entertaining? Okay, and the way I came up with the priorities were this. Um, I figured the priority one stuff was just kind of finding a way to get all the data into the system. Um, like the tables like instructor, semester, course, all that kind of stuff. Uh, priority. Do I have a priority two? I don't think I have a priority two. Uh, so I do have a. I thought I had a priority two. No, I don't. I think that at one time this record attendance at a class meeting had a priority too. Whether I changed the one on purpose, I don't know. And then the threes are generating the reports, and then the fours are these things that kind of have to get done to make the system work. These things that in the use case parlance they call administrative use cases, uh, authorize user and login. Okay, and this is about the order that I think that we probably would work on these, right? Um, so I put that there, and that's about all that I have. Should we estimate these? Well, if you're going to take the agile approach and you're going to do the agile work, doing agile estimates, I think, is a good idea. It's not really fully explained till we get to chapter 10, and we're not there yet. So I think it's a little early for estimates, but I left that column there all the same. So the combination of this backlog, which it gives you a decent idea of the features and the functionality, and the product vision statement. Those are the two documents that we're concentrating on. Now, what's nice is that the product vision statement is really good for managing the scope of a project. Because in the agile world, we always have this idea that user stories are going to be, discovered all the time, or, perhaps new information about them. And so the question's going to come up: does this new user story belong in our project? Okay, and the product vision statement um, is a good yardstick. to take the user story and then say, is it consistent with the product vision? And if it's not a final thing where you go, well, we're not going to kind of include this on the backlog. It's more like this. Either we don't include this in the backlog, or maybe we've changed our vision. Okay, so if we're going to include it on the backlog, let's also go in and do a little surgery on the vision statement such that it's consistent with a vision that includes the user story that we just put on the backlog. Okay, that's kind of what the relationship between those two components should be. All right. So this should be enough of an example to get you started on the one that you're going to do. I look forward to our discussion in class about these two documents, both the ones that I've done here in the tutorial, and then the ones that you're going to be doing for your assignment. So having said that, I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.